Hello, my Christian friends. I am Dr. Donald Jones, and welcome to 10 Minutes of Counseling from the Bible. Some time ago, I recorded and posted a series of videos on relationships, which eventually grew into two major books. The second book deals with seeking peace through reconciliation and explains how to manage conflict and differences in relationships. The title of the book is Managing Anger, Conflicts, and Differences in Relationships with a Workbook Companion for Personal Study. The biblical content has been expanded beyond the videos with the addition of a scriptural illustration and a modern example from my counseling practice. At the end of each chapter is a personal prayer that can be utilized. For group study, I have divided the books into two abridged editions with workbook companions. These are for those who want a 4 to 5 week study for each book. There is an instructor's manual that accompanies the group studies. This contains the full texts, additional notes, the workbook questions, and their suggested answers. Finally, there is a shorter version for a quick read, which I call a book short. This is entitled Restore, Managing Anger and Conflicts and Differences in Relationships. I will put the link to these books in the description below. This is my fourth video in the series, which became chapter 4 in my book, entitled Utilize a Mediator. Sometimes the differences, conflicts, and annoyances in a relationship cannot be covered over in love or resolved. This chapter explains how to... Honey, come. Take a look at these craft supplies. They were left all over the kitchen table. I have told your daughter over and over again to pick up after herself. I have a big presentation tomorrow, and you know that it is the only place in this house I have to prepare. It took me 30 minutes of my valuable time to clean up the mess. Guess what? I'm going to just throw it into her room. Yeah, I'm going to throw it all over the place, and then she'll have to clean it up just like I did. It will serve her right. What? I know she's my stepdaughter, and I have been trying very hard to develop a relationship with her. Oh, so you think this will ruin all my efforts? You know what? I don't care. I'm angry. Well, wait a minute. You're right. I cannot destroy weeks of effort in building our relationship over such a small thing as leaving a few items out. What's wrong with me? Oh, hello. You caught me in the middle of a rant about my stepdaughter and how I want to pay her back for leaving her stuff out. In my anger, I am choosing to ruin a relationship over a small incident that is not as important to me as she is. Has this ever happened to you? My name is Dr. Donald Jones, and welcome to 10 Minutes of Counseling from the Bible. Though this scenario is a made-up story, it illustrates the fact that sometimes we break down important relationships in our lives over the most insignificant, even ridiculous things. Today, we are going to learn how to cover over the small stuff in love. We are nearing the end of a series on healing relationships through forgiveness. Jesus tells us in Matthew 5 and 18 that we are to reconcile relationships with those who have something against us, or we have something against them. We have to go to them and deal with it. If we have a broken relationship with our spouse or partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, child, parent, friend, neighbor, co-worker, acquaintance, we must go to them and reconcile the relationship through forgiveness. In the past, we've looked at reconciling with God, then ourselves, the person we have wronged, and then us as the person wronged. We just finished the final step in the reconciliation process. Now we move on to resolving issues to prevent conflicts from occurring in the first place. This session, we will discuss how to resolve issues to prevent conflicts in the less important issues of life. Next time, we will look at resolving conflicts in the more important issues of life. The importance of an issue has to do with whether we can let something go, or it is so meaningful to us that we have to find a resolution together with the other person. Today we look at principle number 18. Cover over the less important issues in love. In Matthew 5:23-24, Jesus says, "If therefore you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has anything against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go your way. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift. The Greek word translated reconcile means to make changes. It comes from a Greek root word that was a banking term meaning to render accounts the same. There would be a discrepancy between two bank ledgers, and they would have to find the mistakes and fix them, so both were the same. We express this between people as being on the same page. In our case, we each have different renderings of the books, and I decide that my rendering is not that crucial to the situation. So I take the other person's. That's the idea. These are smaller issues that can be covered over in love. If we decide it is a smaller issue, then here are the biblical steps to handle them in a godly way. If it is a larger issue, then one must move to the decision-making process, which we will deal with in the next session. Smaller issues. Step 1. Some issues of a conflict should be considered briefly and overlooked. These are the issues so small it only takes a moment to consider. In Proverbs 19:11, Solomon explains, the discretion, that means good sense or understanding, of a man makes him slow to anger. It is his glory to overlook an offense. Solomon says, it is someone's glory to overlook an offense. People bring honor to themselves by overlooking transgressions against them or even annoyances that bother them. People demonstrate how honorable they are when they let sins or annoyances go. We cannot confront someone in every single annoyance. There are simply too many transgressions against us as we have too many transgressions against others. The Hebrew word translated overlook means to pass by or pass through. It is used literally and physically in Genesis 12:6, when Abraham was commanded by God to enter into the land of Canaan, a land that would eventually be all his. It is described as Abraham passing over or through the land. This simply means we are to pass by the transgression with its reaction and feelings. We do not let the transgression lodge in our mind or heart. We simply move on to thinking about and doing something else. This brings honor to oneself. This is what honorable people do. Step 2. Some issues of conflict should be considered more carefully and covered over in love. These are the issues that are too big to walk by them, but not big enough to demand a decision-making process. In Proverbs 10:12, Solomon writes, hatred stirs up strife, but love covers all wrongs. Solomon explains that when you hate someone, it leads only to strife and conflict. But love can help you cover over any and all transgressions or annoyances if we so choose. The Hebrew word translated cover means to cover over, conceal, or hide. It's used of Noah's 2 sons who walked backward and covered over their father Noah's nakedness because he had been drunk the night before. They essentially covered over his transgression in their love and respect for him. They did not use his transgression as an opportunity to humiliate, gawk, or make a spectacle of him, as Ham apparently did. What a difference. Why do we feel that we have to humiliate, gawk, or make a spectacle of someone we love when they make a small transgression against us or annoy us in some way? In 1 Peter 4:8, Peter writes, and above all things, be earnest in your love among yourselves, for love covers a multitude of sins. Here, he alludes to Solomon's proverb. The corresponding Greek word translated cover means to hide, veil, hinder the knowledge of a thing. It was used physically by Jesus when he told his followers that no one covers over a lighted lamp with a container, but instead puts it on a lampstand for all to see. They were to do that with their testimony of him. Notice both the Hebrew and Greek words also have the idea of hiding it from view or concealing it so no one else can view it. It's more than just not bringing it up. It's walking backward in respect and covering over something, so the person is not humiliated or gawked at or as a spectacle to anyone around them. Is this not a beautiful concept? Both inspired authors portray this covering process as handling most, if not all, sins. Woe to the spouses, parents, and children who nitpick every single thing a person does. They scrutinize and analyze every action as if it is of utmost importance. Then they comment, criticize, and humiliate the person. In 1 Corinthians 13:7, Paul describes love as bearing all things. The Greek word translated bear is a synonym to this same word with an added nuance. It means to cover, conceal, and hide with endurance. Paul has in mind love, having to endure some of the transgressions and annoyances of the people with whom we have a relationship with. We all sin against or annoy people we love. A part of that concealing of smaller things is endurance. Sometimes we have to endure annoyances. So how do we cover over something in love? First, we reassess our love for the person and decide to cover over the problem. We ask ourselves this simple question: do we love this person? The answer always comes back yes. Then this issue is not that important, and we let it go. My love for this person and the relationship that we have is more important than this minor issue that has come up. My showing love for this person is more important to God than the inconvenience or the annoyance that I am having concerning this issue. This extends to all our relationships. So we must first ask ourselves, do we love this person? The answer should be yes. Then we ask ourselves, do we want to chip away at the relationship and destroy it because of this? When we answer no, we release the issue. A beautiful biblical example of covering over the smaller issues in love is the resolving of the land issue between Abraham and his nephew Lot in Genesis 13. In the previous chapter, God commanded Abraham to go into the land of Canaan and live. He was giving the land to him as an inheritance. So Abraham left Haran, sojourned through Egypt, and landed at the Negev. By this time, he was traveling with his nephew Lot. Both of these two men were very wealthy. They had livestock, tents, possessions, silver, gold, large families, many servants, and hired men. Unfortunately, they had too much stuff to stay together without conflict and had to separate. It became obvious to Abraham that major conflict would arise between them because the amount of animals were so large that the men tending them had begun arguing and fighting over the land to feed them. So Abraham took the first step in preventing any conflict. He recognized that they were brothers in the Lord, and that was far more important than arguing and fighting over land, water, and food for their animals. Plus, he was practical. It would be dangerous to quarrel and become divided. The Canaanites and Perizzites dwelt in the land, and they would need protection from them. Fighting each other would only divide them and weaken them. So he told Lot that they were brothers and he did not want conflict between them. Then he did an amazingly unselfish thing. He offered Lot the opportunity to choose where in the land he would like to go when they separated. If Lot went to the right, he would go to the left. If Lot went to the left, he would go to the right. So Lot took him up on his offer. When Lot saw the valley of the Jordan, he chose that area. Water was everywhere, and it looked like the Garden of Eden. Moses adds that this was where Sodom and Gomorrah was located before they were destroyed. So Adam settled in Canaan, and Lot settled in the valley and landed in Sodom. Unfortunately for Lot, Sodom was an evil, immoral city. Moses calls them exceedingly wicked. As soon as Lot departed, God spoke to Abraham and reiterated his promise. God told him to look in every direction and all that he could see would be owned and occupied by him and his descendants, who would be like the dust of the earth. So Abraham dwelt at the oaks of Mamre. There he built an altar to the Lord and worshipped him. Here we have Abraham deciding that his love for his nephew was more important than even the land that he could dwell on. Even though Lot chose the choicest land, his love for him and peace between them was a priority. As a result, Abraham prevented a conflict that may have destroyed the relationship. If Abraham had become upset or angry about the quarreling men, he never let it become a problem. He was patient and understanding. Even though Lot had chosen the better land, when Lot was captured by the band of 4 kings, Abraham and his men rescued him. Genesis 14, 1-16. Even though Lot had thought about himself first, Abraham intervened on his behalf to rescue him from the judgment of the Lord on Sodom and Gomorrah. Genesis 19, 26-33. Abraham could have been angry and bitter over the choice Lot had made and let him be killed by the 4 kings or the fire and brimstone of the Lord. Instead, Abraham reassessed his love for his nephew, and then he decided to cover over the problem in love. He released it and let it go. He passed by it. We need to do the same. With those people that we love, they do something that might annoy us or a transgression against us, and it doesn't need to be resolved with a decision-making process because it's simply too small. Let's just cover over it in love and let it go. That is honorable and honors the Lord. This is Dr. Donald Jones. May the Lord bless you as you follow him. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you subscribe to my channel and click the notification bell, I will send you a free ebook. It's called Taming the Temper: How to Manage the Raging Fire Within Us and Preserve Our Relationships. It describes in detail the biblical steps to eliminate our anger or deal with the anger of others towards us. This is the full book, not just a 3-page pamphlet that others offer. These are principles that I have actually taught my couples in my counseling practice. Once you have subscribed and hit the bell, send me an email at donjonesphd, free ebook @yahoo.com. You will not be put on anyone else's mailing list, and I do not send out newsletters or solicit funds. This is Dr. Donald Jones. Please support me by taking the actions on my left. Goodbye, my friends, and God bless you.